LL Cool J is back on in the locker room. Ryan Day is talking about casualties and spoils of war. Emeka Ibuka said he's ready to spill some blood, and Cody Simon is wearing camouflage. I believe that covers all the bases for an actual war on Saturday for Ohio State. It's not literal, I guess, but the Buckeyes are ready for it. The game is here. The rhetoric is getting ratcheted up, and we're going to talk about it on Snap Judgments. He's Bill Landis. That's Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. I think it's important.
The game?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal.
It seems like it. But I think that was a different Ryan Day. Like, demeanor, the way he talked about the game, I thought was noticeably different from really any time previously. Even like in 2019, when they had a really good team and probably had a pretty good idea that they were going to go win that game. Just like projecting the right level of confidence, saying the right things about the game, but then like to say this is a war, and in war there are casualties and consequences, plunder and rewards. It's like General Patton standing up there at the podium. He's never talked about the game that way before.
Or Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
He's channeling Woody Hayes. I mean, we've said, because of the perception, not the the actual reality of Ohio State's season is that they can lose to Michigan and still go win a championship, the national championship, not a Big Ten championship. But obviously nobody is even remotely considering that in this building. And it is a different discussion from not just Ryan Day, but also the rest of the players who have not won a set of gold pants yet.
You do have to wonder if that's part of what makes this version of Ryan Day seem so, I don't want to say relaxed, but I guess just focused on the moment as opposed to, and the process as opposed to the outcome, which is something he said today. Like, they're interested in the process. What they've done all year is what has to be done today. What they've done all year also doesn't matter. So like, it's kind of a weird juxtaposition of saying, what has happened last week against Indiana does not matter. And so by that rationale, what's happened the last 3 years against Michigan does not matter to Ryan Day. And I do think that there was a freedom that you could just hear from him today of saying, hey, we're going to go lay it out on the line, and whatever happens, happens, because you do know if by some quirk of fate you lose on Saturday, which, my God, they better not lose on Saturday. But if you lose, like, the season's not over. Like in 2022, there was that feeling of, if against Michigan in Ohio Stadium, when you lost, the season was over. Now you got a reprieve, and Ohio State was this close to taking advantage of it and winning a national championship. But I do wonder if it's a different mentality, knowing heading into the game that while this means everything, and that was something Will Howard said, what Ryan Day said, they all are echoing that sentiment. Winning this game means everything, but in the big picture of the season, it doesn't mean everything's over if you don't. And I think that's a weird mentality that Ohio State's never had to have going into this game.
It is a change in the way that just college football is set up now, that the game can almost exist all on its own for Ohio State right now. Now, I know that that's not a completely true fact, Bill, because if they're going to go to Indianapolis, they're almost certainly going to have to win this game on Saturday to get there. And that's one of the key goals. Winning the rivalry game and winning the Big Ten. But this game just seems now more than ever to exist on its own plane, which seems like, to Berm's point, maybe better for the approach of Ohio State in this week. I don't know. People don't really like when we assign all the feelings to this week or psychoanalyze the press conference, but there wasn't a ton of actual football discussed.
This week's nothing but feelings. We were in the Woody for 3 hours. There were like 4 football questions asked of Ryan Day, and we talked to four players. That's all this week is feelings and emotion and scars and plunder.
You're stuck on the plunder.
I was just like shocked that he said it.
It's never come up before.
I actually don't. I think it makes sense logically that this game used to kind of decide everything, and now it kind of doesn't. And in some way, that is probably emotionally freeing and allows you to play with a clearer mind when you go into the game. I don't know if that's what I picked up on today. I kind of picked up on almost like a return to the Urban Meyer maniacal approach to this game that is fueling the confidence more than anything else. Because again, I just go back to the way that Ryan Day was talking about it. He's not done it before. And like, there's words and actions, and the words were, I think, the appropriate words. None of it ultimately matters until we see what we see on the field on Saturday. But I don't think that the words were empty. I don't think that it was just like, let me write a script of what I'm supposed to say during Michigan week, but we're going to approach it actually the same way we always have. I get we've not been in here every day. We don't know. But I do feel like they're approaching this differently than they have the last few years.
And he said over and over, you don't know about this game till you've been in it. And I think that's an interesting thing. No one asked really about like his advice for Chip Kelly this week or how Chip is handling this, because obviously Chip Kelly's coached in big rivalry games before, but Ryan Day has removed himself from the game planning in a way that he hasn't in this game in the past, where he was the offensive coordinator in 2017, 2018, and then the head coach, in 2019 as well. But now you've been the head coach for 5 years in this game, so and the offensive coordinator. Like he can't handle it differently this week, and I think that it's interesting. I also, we again, as Austin said, people don't like when we psychoanalyze this, but it's the media who's asking all the feelings questions. It's not Ryan Day getting up to the podium and talking about, like, gosh, guys, I feel this way. Like, I'm sure he'd rather break down the X's and O's and talk football than to get into the weeds of feelings.
We all asked football questions. Well, you asked a recruiting question, but Austin and I asked football
about special teams.
I asked about third down conversions.
Right. I mean, but that's people are looking for sound bites and clips, and that's what these press conferences are about. So it's. I don't think if we got to the heart of what he wanted to talk about today, it would be about feelings ball. Although it is important, he needs to express that.
Sure.
And
display
that for
I think it's important.
Ohio State fans.
I kind of think now the players, there's only so much that they can say, and these guys that are captains, we've asked them a million times about their decision to return and what they wanted to accomplish, and we already know that they don't have gold pants, that they want hardware, that they want to win the rivalry, that they cannot bear the thought of leaving without it. I don't know that they needed to rehash all that, but I think that might exist separate. I think Ryan Day would prefer to talk about the emotions rather than what are you going to do on third down? How are you going to correct that? Like, are you going to change your kickoff returner? I don't know that he wanted to actually give any of those details away to Michigan for this week. So I in a weird way, I think he was probably more in tune with that because of what you're talking about with the CEO style and setting the emotional tone for this team. And the players, but I think Emeka Egbuka most specifically, like, they don't need that. Yeah. This team does not need more emotion. They have been singularly focused on winning this particular game. And I know that it's a natty or bust conversation for some of them as well. But, we know the situation for that.
I think that in the future, perhaps it could be true that winning a national championship would supersede winning this game just based off how college football has changed.
But not this year.
But I do not think it is true this
Jinx.
year. Yeah, I do not think it's true this year.
Yeah.
Like, if Ohio State will have the opportunity, like, it is clinched a playoff spot. It is going to the college football playoff. It's just a matter of where it's going to play its first game, right? But if it were to go into the playoff and win a national championship and still not have gold pants, on some level that would feel hollow for, I think, everyone in this building. So, like, I don't know, maybe that's why this week, because I was halfway expecting it to not feel that way because of just how the dynamics have changed, because of the position that Ohio State finds itself in, because, like, Michigan's not ranked or whatever. This game has been a top 5 game in the last couple of years. It's not quite that, but none of that matters because no one has gold pants. And, like, that is the singular focus, as Austin said.
What drove it home to me, again, why, and whatever, we're going to find out how they perform and handle this on Saturday. But, like, Emeka Egbuka was getting all these questions, and he kept getting just ridiculous amounts of goosebumps, like, talking about the game. And I was like, is he cold? Because it's, it's a little bit chilly outside. The doors are open. And,
you were that close to his arms?
They were huge goosebumps. And I just I'm like, were you cold? Or is it there's something about the excitement of the week and talking about the brotherhood and him, like, because he's saying, I'm ready to spill my blood. And then his arm was just, like, covered in bumps. It's like, I'm like, is that adrenaline that's pumping? Because, that happens to The Rock when he comes out on Monday Night Raw. So I think the mana's flowing.
Okay.
Huh?
This game means everything.
Mana is flowing.
These guys, it's something we've talked about, as you said, 100 times with these guys, why you came back, what you're here for. But now it's here. It's all right in front of you. This is the last day they're going to talk to the media this week. You can't see it, but there's Fox and ESPN and CBS and whoever else is here. Like all
PBS, Elmo's over there.
PBS is here. Bob Vila is here. Did you say Bob Vila?
I said Elmo.
He said Elmo.
So they've done all their talking, and Emeka looked tired. Like, he didn't look like he looked like he just woken up a little bit before he got in here. But they can put behind them all this other crap, all of the talk of the last 10 months, everything for the last year is now right here. And so what else are you here for? When you talk to Emeka, Jack Sawyer has said the same thing about this game for the last 4 years. We've heard it every single time he's spoken in this week, and it doesn't mean it's not true, but this means everything. I mean, it matters.
I think that's why
Will Howard almost cried.
I think that's why we take notice of the way that they talk about it, because there have been moments in the last few years where Ohio State is so wound up in the rivalry, but then they would try to counteract that by saying they're going to be a nameless, faceless opponent. It's the next game. Like, we still have to worry about us. There have been other quotes that's like, losses are not going to define Ohio State based on that game. That I don't think that that's truly the way that they felt deep down, but the way that they talked about it and the emotional stakes didn't match.
Yeah.
And that's why today resonates. Again, it's Tuesday. They have 5 days to go. They have not got out on the practice field for real. They're going to do that in a couple hours. Just because they talk about it differently does not guarantee that the outcome is going to be different, but it feels like everything is aligned in a way for Ohio State with the way that they're approaching the improvements that we've seen on offense, defense, and special teams. Set aside Michigan's own struggles. Like, if it doesn't happen this week, I don't know what else they could possibly change.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also wonder, I didn't ask Ryan Day this. It was among the things I was kind of rolling around in my brain, because he has said it a time or two in other places that maybe in previous seasons that Ohio State had come into this game without really being challenged or just playing in like a high intensity environment that this game obviously is for all 4 quarters. And it has gone on the road now to play at Oregon and went on the road to play at Penn State, to play a top 5 game last week. Like, what else could you ask for to test a team's resolve other than playing 3 top 5 games before your final regular season? So I think that's fueling, I'll just call it confidence. Like, I wasn't like cockiness that they are assuming they're going to come out here and beat Michigan, and it's all sewn up because they're the number 2 team in the country and Michigan just got the bowl eligibility. Like, they understand, and Jack Sawyer said this, like, it doesn't matter what their record is, doesn't matter that they're not ranked. History will tell you that doesn't matter. You can comb through whatever Ohio State, Michigan result you want to, and it'll tell you that. But I also think this team should feel confident about its ability to play well in big moments based off of the 3 major games that it's played well in so far this year.
It's a battle-tested roster. Like, you couldn't ask for anything more than Ohio State has returning to go into this game to win it on Saturday. Like, everything is there for them to just go do your job and you win. Now, Michigan's obviously going to try to stop that, but this Ohio State team is better than this Michigan team, and they know it. So now it's just about putting everything behind them and hitting someone.
Was there anything actually football related that you took out of it, though?
Yeah, I think the thing about the football questions this week, they are less necessary because one of the things I really appreciate about Ohio State, Michigan is, like, Ohio State fans have been watching Michigan all year, right? So they know that Wink Martindale blitzes a lot, right? But Ryan Day did say that the defensive structure of Michigan with Wink Martindale running it now as opposed to Jesse Minter or Mike McDonald before him is very similar, but that Wink Martindale is way more aggressive. It's a little more Don Brown-like, I think, in that
Which
regard.
makes you wonder if they're actually going to do that.
I think they have to. I mean, we'll see, right? Yeah, you make a good point. Like, maybe they'll change it up because they've been that way all year. But Wink Martindale's been coaching football for 30 years, and he's always been that way. So I don't know. I'd be pretty shocked if they did change it. So that was one, a lot of talk about this defensive line that Michigan has and how good it is and how much of a challenge that it's going to be for Ohio State's offensive line this week. But that was kind of the extent of it.
I mean, clearly he was happy with what he saw to Carson Hinsman at center, and feels like it's never going to feel like a complete line at this point because you still are missing your 2 best players of that starting 5 you had at the start of the year. But you can't make excuses now. Like, the guys are who they are. They're out there. Donovan Jackson's now heading into his 5th game at left tackle. It's the 4th start of the year for Austin Sarabeld. Like, it's the 4th start of the year for Carson Hinsman. Like, maybe different spots than they originally started the year at, but it's time to roll.
Yeah, it's that time. You can just feel it more than anything. I think that was the main takeaway of a Tuesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Like, all those things that I mentioned. I'm trying to remember. I don't think that Ryan Day has actually played It's Time for War since like 2019. I think they had phased that out. Am I wrong?
That would be right.
I don't remember. I mean, I know we heard it Saturday walking out of the locker room after the Indiana game, and that was playing immediately. So I would be shocked if the return of Jim Tressel around this building, the return of Maurice Claret around this building, the influence of Urban Meyer, like it's still here, and those guys matter.
Do we know if they're doing senior tackle this week?
Last year they did not.
Last year they moved it. Yeah.
I believe they're not.
Yeah.
I know that they are. There is one in-game adjustment happening, or one game day adjustment happening for senior day. They're going to do that directly after quick cals instead of before kickoff.
Oh, that makes sense.
In order to try and prevent people from being a little bit like emotional.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's going to be different this weekend than any other senior day we've ever covered.
Yep.
So that'll happen at the 26-minute mark after the game, or after quick cal. So if you're wanting to be there for senior day, get to the stadium early and be ready for that, because that's happening with 30 minutes to kick off, not right when they come out of the tunnel.
That's good stuff. Glad you got that insight to wrap it up here on Snap Judgments of Tuesday. Again, excited for the week ahead, and a lot more coverage coming, even without any more media availability for the Buckeyes as they shut everything down and focus on themselves and batten down the hatches and try and get some plunder on Saturday. Maybe it's because they had the pirate, Jack Sparrow halftime. It's just an idea.
Big Pirates of the
And
Caribbean.
now the Pirates of the Caribbean is rattling around Ryan Day's brain. A lot of useful information that maybe he can use to continue motivating the Buckeyes to get ready for Saturday. The game is at noon in the Horseshoe. That's Bill Anderson, Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. These have been Snap Judgments. We'll see you later.